Thanks to everyone for joining us for our weekly press conference with head coach Lance Taylor. The Broncos are coming off a 21-3 win at UMass and take on Ball State this weekend for homecoming and Hall of Fame weekend. We'll start with an opening statement from Coach, and then we'll take questions.
Good conference road win versus UMass for our football team this weekend. Winning is hard. Winning on the road is even harder, especially in this conference. UMass is well coached, and I thought they outplayed us in the first half. In the first half, we didn't play to our standard. We lacked energy and intensity and just the discipline to do our jobs. I thought at halftime we reset and refocused, came out and played Bronco football in the second half. We got back to playing to our standard, had some fight in us that showed grit and the ability to win even when we did not play our best. Now it's time to reset and refocus. Ball State is a really good opponent. They just had a great win versus Ohio. Big signature win, comeback win for Coach Yurimovich in his first year as head coach there. He's been in the MAC multiple times. He knows this league well. Really good coach. Did a great job at Butler in his time at Butler before he got to Ball State. You know, they have two really good players, or, you know, I'll highlight two of their best players. One on offense, Kyle Kelly, their quarterback. He's dynamic. He's a great leader and is a great human being. I've known Kyle for a long time and appreciate who he is as a person, but also who he is as a leader. And then on defense, their best player is defensive end Nathan Voris, who leads the nation in sacks. He has 8 sacks, really has been wreaking havoc on that side of the ball. He's a transfer from Butler, so he came with Coach Yurimovich and his staff. This will be a great test and challenge for our football team. It is homecoming week. Our guys are excited and energized to play at home in front of the best fans in the MAC. It's also Hall of Fame induction week. I want to congratulate one of our own, tight end Jake Moreland, who was a great player here and now coaching for the Houston Texans. Can't wait to see him this weekend and welcome him back and induct him into the Hall of Fame. There's a lot of great things going on, but we have to eliminate the distractions and have laser focus because our mission is to go 1-0 this week. We have to play to our standard, and on Saturday we have to go out and earn it.
Coach Matt Ayler with MLive. I looked at the stats, and you lead the nation now in sacks. I know you talked about how exciting, or how excited you were for that unit, in the preseason. But I wanted to get a little bit more insight on just how you think they've been able to have so much success. Do you credit to Sean Spence and Seth Payne and their factors and how they've been able to kind of get these guys to play up to their level? Any secret ingredient you think that has been able to allow them to have so much success?
The secret is in the dirt. It's in the work. And that's by our players, that's by our coaches. It really is a group effort by all of them. Really proud of our coaches. You just mentioned Coach Spence, Coach Seth Payne. They've done an excellent job. One, evaluating and recruiting, doing a great job building relationships, but they're great teachers and communicators in the room. Think that they've done an excellent job with that group, and really it's been a group effort. When you look at the guys who have excelled, I mean, you've got Rodney McGraw, you've got Nadame Tucker, you've got Marcel Tyler, you've got Tyson Lee, you've got Kershawn Fisher, you've got, I mean, we've got a lot of guys that really it's a group effort. We lead the nation in sacks not because of one person, but because of a lot of people, and really proud of how they played. I think that they've allowed us to create those havoc plays on defense, and that's showing up week to week. And we've got to continue to elevate. I think, when you play that well, what happens is the opposing teams now try to start taking you away, whether it's sliding the protection, whether it's chips, whether it's, 7-man protections. And so we've got to continue to elevate our game, not only from a player standpoint, but also from a staff standpoint. How do we negate some of those things that they're going to try to do to take our best players away and our best, really unit away? And so I think that we've got to do a great job really, putting our guys in position just like we have. I think they've done an excellent job. Our defense staff has done an excellent job doing that, putting our players in position to succeed. But it gets harder and harder each week as that becomes the focal point for our opponents, and so we have to raise our standard.
You have 4 more than you did all of last year at this point. Was that just a point of emphasis, getting that front 7, revamping it, defensive staff, obviously? Was that just a big, X factor for what you tried to focus on this offseason?
For me, it was a point of emphasis. I wanted to go into this season. There's a reason. In my 6 years in the NFL, there's a reason why those rush guys are the highest paid players and they're franchise players on the defensive side of the ball. That's because they are game wreckers, they're game changers, and you have to have talent at that position. And one of the things, we were fortunate enough to have Marshawn Nealon, second round draft pick, who was an excellent player for us. But the one thing that I saw, even having a great player like Marshawn, when you don't have other pieces around him, defensive coordinators and opponents can take him away when it's one player. So I think that's why you see what you see right now. We made an investment and really, time and well spent going out and making sure that we did our due diligence, getting the right players, making sure that we had really good players at that position, but also the depth to do that. And that's why it's a group effort. And so I'm proud of, what our coaches have done. I think you're seeing some of the fruits of our labor that a lot of people haven't seen in the offseason, the recruiting, the relationship building, and some of those things that don't always show up, but they're showing up on the field.
You start off with a very tough schedule, 0-3, and now you've won 3 straight. You're 2-0 in the MAC. It was a kind of similar situation to last year where you started off hot in the MAC. How do you maintain just kind of where your team's at? I know you said that you didn't think that your team could handle success last year. How are you managing that, going into another big week in the MAC?
That's an excellent question. I'll take suggestions and advice of anybody who has it. I think one of the things that we learned last year was, handling failure when you're competitive and you want to win and you're driven. When you have failure or you don't win or you lose, you pick yourself up off the mat and you're more motivated to come back and prove people wrong and prove that you are a good player or that you are a good coach or that you are a good team. When you have success and then you have continued success, that's the hardest thing to sustain. And so I think one of the things that we learned last year was that lesson. And I think the mindset of this team is just different. I think there's an energy, but also, a bond on this team. They've stayed humble and hungry even through the wins. And to be honest with you, listen, we came out in UMass in the first half, we were flat. We didn't play to our standard. We found a way to win, and the best teams that I've been on, on days that they didn't have their best, they find a way to win. And so I'm proud that we found a way to win, and we did in the second half, which was great. But also, when you play really good teams and you give up 30 minutes of football, you play with fire long enough, you're going to get burnt. And so hopefully through a win, we learned a great lesson, and this team takes that to heart. And now we know every single week, every single quarter, every single play, we have to bring it. That's why our mindset, and that's why I keep saying 1-0. We have to go 1-0 every day. It's not just each week. We have to go 1-0 each day. And I think the biggest lesson that I learned last year was when we were on our win streak early in our MAC play, guys started to forget what got us there. Our practice habits, how we treated the week, our laser focus during the week, and then it showed up and it burned us on game days. And we did not play well down the stretch, and that's my responsibility as the head coach is to make sure that we stay laser focused. There's a lot of distractions this week. It's homecoming week, Hall of Fame induction, it's Gold Rush. Everybody wants to pat you on the back because we're on 3-game win streak. None of that matters. If we don't go play well on Saturday, we'll get embarrassed and we'll get our butts kicked. You have to go out and earn it.
I wanted to stick with the defense a little bit. The linebacking group has really kind of come on very strong here the last couple weeks. Can you talk a little bit about their impact? Seifa Sepia had another really productive game against UMass. Dominic Moon had an interception. Can you talk a little bit about that group?
I think the linebacker group is really coming into their own. You just mentioned it, but I think that the last 3 weeks they have really excelled and taken a step, and you're starting to see them come on, play really well. Seifa and James Camden have been our starters since the very beginning. I think that they're playing, at a really high level. I mentioned this last week. James Camden had his best game, played his best. They continue to elevate, but then we've got depth behind them now. Getting, Dominic Moon and also Demo back allows us to, rotate, keep those guys fresh. Really proud of Dom. Moon. I mean, he had a tough injury. He had a really good training camp, and to have an injury where, he's now out at the beginning of the season, and I think missed 3 or 4 games there at the beginning of the season is tough for any player. I thought that he handled it well, and now he's coming back and he's having to play with the club, and he's having to learn to play, really, with 1.5 hands and a club on one, and to have an interception with a club hand is pretty impressive. So I'm proud of him for doing that. Really nice play, really big play for us in that game. But I think our linebackers have played really well, and we need them to continue to play well and continue to elevate. They're really the leaders on our defense. They're the captains and quarterbacks of the defense. They have to make the calls and make sure that we get lined up properly. And that was one of the ways that we challenged our team when we didn't play. When we did not play well in the first half. Some of our best players did not play their best, and we can't have that happen. We have to have our leaders and best players play our best to have a chance, and I thought we got back to that in the second half, but we didn't do that in the first half.
And then John Peters, the freshman corner, has really started to have string together some really nice games. Can you talk a little bit about his impact, how he's settling in as a freshman, giving really good snaps as a starting corner in the MAC? It's pretty tough for a freshman to do.
Really tough for a freshman to do. John Peters has done an excellent job. He's come in and done a really nice job. One, being a great teammate, his work ethic. He is competitive when the ball is in the air. You saw the interception, two games ago against Toledo. That was a really nice play. He's fearless back there, and he has a short memory, which I think is key and clutch for a corner. You have to have a short memory, and you have to be fearless. You can't be afraid to get beat, and when you do get beat, you gotta erase it, reset and refocus really quickly, because at that position, when you give up a play, most of the time it costs you points, and everybody in the stadium sees it. And so I think that that's a really tough position to play. I'm really pleased with the group. You mentioned John Peters, but I think some other guys that have played really well. Josh Franklin is one of our best leaders and best players on the defensive side of the ball. He's played excellent at the nickel position. He plays nickel corner for us. He continues to show up in the run game and pass game. He's physical. I think he's done an excellent job. Aaron Wofford plays to the field for us, has done a really nice job. We moved him from safety to corner, so he's playing a new position. He's learned that really well. There's been some growing pains, but he continues to get better and excel each week. And then Javar Sims into the boundary has played really well as well. He was injured and limited this past week, but we expect to get him back fully healthy this week. And, in his absence, I'll say Isaiah Paul stepped up and played really well. I mean, he made one of the biggest plays in the game. We have the turnover right there in the red zone, and 4 straight plays, our defense holds them to 0 points. And on the 4th down, they throw a fade ball to Isaiah Paul. He makes a great pass breakup that really allows us now to get the football back on offense, and in a tough sequence. Now our offense went 11 plays, 6-minute drive, 87 yards, and really put the dagger and exclamation point on the win, which I thought was really good complimentary football. But really proud of Isaiah Paul. He's an older guy, played for us last year, beginning of the season. He was on scout team. We asked him to go on scout team, and he wasn't where he wanted to be. But, I sat down with him after the first week and really just challenged him, stay ready for your opportunity, continue to get better, even though you're on scout team, and continue to stay ready for your opportunity, because at some point this year, you're going to be asked to come in and make a key play for our football team. He did that. He, played on scout team for three or 4 straight weeks, did an excellent job, continued to get better and give us great looks, which is really tough for an older guy, and really just proud of how he came in and was ready for his opportunity, even though he had been on scout team. And to do that, you as a coach, you're really proud. And those are the guys that you want to highlight in front of the group, because here's a guy who didn't get what he wanted. Okay, he could have shut it down. He could have quit. He could have walked away. He could have, transfer portal, red shirt, all these things that people want to do now. We haven't had any of that. We haven't had one single player do that. And I think that it shows the commitment and buy-in and belief in what we're doing. And the type of young men that we have in the locker room is different. It's different this year. The mentality's different. They've stayed humble and hungry, and they've bought into a team, not me, but we first.
Coach Rodney McGraw's really come on this year. Can you talk about his development from last year to this year?
Rodney McGraw is probably the most the most improved, biggest 180 I may have seen in my coaching career. He has done an excellent job. Transferred in from Louisville, was on our team last year, and you know, really sat down with Rodney after the season. Didn't play much for us last year, and really sat down with him in the offseason and really challenged him. He needed to be better in a lot of ways. You know, one, being a great teammate, but his work ethic, his buy-in, you know, asked him, did he want to be here? Do you want to be a Bronco? And, you know, the thing that encouraged me was, he said, Coach, he said, I want to be here. I want to be a Bronco, and I'm going to be better. And from on the field to off the field, everything that he's done, he was one of our workout warriors during the summer, you know, and he really connected with Coach Bernardi, our new strength coach. I think Coach Bernardi and our staff really did a great job connecting and building a relationship with him, challenging him in ways that he, you know, motivated him. And it's shown up on the field. I mean, he has been a force. We've played him inside. We've played him outside. He has been one of our most consistent and most productive players at the position. And we've got some really good players at that edge position. But really proud of who he is and who he's been and how he's played. I think it's a testament, you know, one to him wanting to change, but also making the changes necessary to see that change.
Watching the Ball State Ohio game, what did Ball State do in the second half that they were able to hold down Ohio and come back and win that game?
Well, Ball State played really well. I mean, they got down 14-0 early, quickly in the first half, and they just kept believing and kept fighting. I thought that they played really hard for 60 minutes. I thought Kyle Kelly made some really big plays in that game with his feet and his arm to bring them back. And then, you know, I mean, when it's 14-0 and then, you know, you're playing at home, Ball State is continuing to fight and believe that they can win the game. You know, one or two plays gives you momentum and gives you belief, just like we saw in our Toledo game. And I thought it was very similar in their game. I think it shows, you know, what Coach Uremovich has done there. In his first season, but they've got some great leaders. And then, you know, Nathan Voris, you know, I think he had 3.5, I don't remember his stat line, but I think he had 3 or 3.5 sacks just in the Ohio game. So their best players played really well in the second half, and we've got to have a plan for both of those guys. They're game wreckers.
And then quarterback Brock Lowry has really kind of taken over this team. Do you feel that does the team rallying behind him now that he's been the start of the last few weeks?
Really proud of Brock. One, I think everybody sees how tough and competitive he is. And that's easy to see when in two situations. One, when he runs the football, he lowers his pads and he does not shy away from contact. And then two, when the game is on the line or the moments are the biggest, that's when he's at his best. And he raises the play of all those around him. I'm really proud of Brock. I think he's done an excellent job. And everybody wants to talk about him as a runner and what he's done in the run game. I think what he's done in the pass game has been, you know, more impressive than what he's done in the run game. We've always known that he was a really, you know, good runner. He has elevated and improved in the pass game over the last 3 weeks, and it's been really impressive. And I think it's a group effort. I think it's, you know, he's worked on it. I think, you know, our receivers, tight ends, running backs have really stepped up and made some really contested and big catches. But I also think our offensive staff have done a really nice job putting a good plan together and things that he does well and things that he likes. And I always think that that's important. Coach Bell has done a really nice job of that. You can throw, you know, your system and scheme out the window. It's what can your players execute well and what do they do well. Let's run those plays. And so Coach Bell's done an excellent job with that. You know, but one stat I do want, you know, I talk about complementary football. People want to talk about our defense. They played great. Really proud of them. People want to talk about Brock, but, you know, to me, we've played complementary football, and I think it sometimes goes unnoticed. You know, what our offense has done, and really some of the things that our defense has done outside of our D-line and edge position. In the last 3 games, you know, our offense is 10 out of 11 in the red zone. So we're scoring points. When we get down there, we're very efficient, highly efficient and effective in the red zone. We're scoring points. And then our defense is holding opponents to 5 of 12 in the red zone with 4 turnovers. I mean, that's a pretty, you know, you want to talk about complementary football, we've got to continue to play like that and continue to raise our standard. But, I mean, that's pretty that's a great stat for complementary football. I think we've got to be better in, we always look at areas that we can be better in. We've got to be better on third down. One, offensively, I think we've got to be better on third down, more efficient. But we have done a nice job in our sequencing plays. Sometimes third down is a misleading stat because we're going for it on fourth down. So we have been effective there. But also on defense, we've got to get them off on third, especially third and long.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys. Go Broncos.